Awesome. So hi, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are signing in from and whenever you are watching this recording, because we do have people from all over the world who right now are probably sleeping. So I'm Scully Ty and I will be your host for the day. And on behalf of Purpose Alliance, I really do hope you enjoy this super inspirational keynote from Lars. Before I present the speaker, could you please remember to mute your microphone, which I see you have all done, so thank you, to avoid any background noise, basically. And at the end of the session, I'm sure we can all open up our mics and ask any questions or say any comments or feedback we may have. So here today, we have the honor to host Lars Lin, founder of Sprint Hero, Educator4Life, and Planet Pilot. He's never bored. So Lars, thank you so much for being here. He will be representing today Educator4Life, and he will be enlightening us on the topic, what if there is no future of education? This is what we need. So Lars, thank you so much for being here today, and it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Scully. And can I just first say thank you to the whole Purpose Alliance, both the core team and everybody who works day and night. I know that, to make all this work out, to organize, to orchestrate, to plan. It's just an amazing piece of work, and I couldn't be happier to be a partner. As part of Educate4Life and Planet Pilot in this amazing adventure. But it's more than an adventure. It's actually a very critical type of initiative that we desperately need. So thank you to the Purpose Alliance team for making all this happen. And some of you probably know that at Educate4Life, we once per year facilitate also a free 10-week EXO sprint, bring together the community. It's in many ways similar to what we are doing here in the Purpose Alliance Challenge. Earlier this year, we ran a sprint with, I counted 444 people who were involved. I'm so excited to hear that there's more than 1,000 people registered for this challenge. Then we are getting in the right direction, but we're also attracting the right people, so to speak, the people like you. That's all of you who are equally passionate about creating a better future for education, and that means a better world. So thank you to all of you who are on this call as well. I suspect some will be watching the US presidential election in a side window, which is fair. It's really nerve-wracking, but please stay with me in this session, because I'm here really to hopefully inspire all of you who are joining this challenge, and give you a download of research and studies that I've been going through, and practical experience and suggestions. So I'm just going to offload as much as I can in the next 40-ish minutes, but I want to leave time for questions and discussions as well at the end. But let me dive in here and give you my take on the future of education, whatever that means, right? I've enjoyed several of the other keynotes and seen some really good definitions of what is education and why are we getting educated and all these things. I don't want to go deep into that, but I think education serves an important role in preparing us from childhood to for the adulthood and the different roles that we each will be filling, hopefully in a meaningful way, so we can all contribute. Some call that workforce development, and there are many perspectives we can apply on this topic. I'm trying to give it a little bit of all sorts of different perspectives actually in my presentation here. But some is probably something you have heard before, I'm sure, but I hope you get something new to take away as inspiration, because I don't know what the future is going to look like. Let me just break it right there. I don't know. And I don't think any of you know either. But I do know that we have an amazing opportunity to create a future that we want for ourselves and for our coming generations. We've never had better chances at creating a really good future. But we are also looking at very challenging conditions to operate in, and a massive disruption of both what we have been calling education for over 150 years and the future work and life in general. We are being challenged from all directions, and I think we need radically different kinds of solutions to really solve some of the big challenges that we on our only livable planet are facing right now. So with that, let me bring up a few visuals here that I have prepared for you. And you can go and study these visuals if you want on your own time on the link on my screen here, Educate4Life/future of education. So the presentation is already there. But let me just start with a little bit of my own introduction. I'll keep it short, and because it's probably not super interesting, I could cut it down short by saying I'm an engineer from background. But I've been doing all sorts of other stuff as well, in coaching, developing leaders, transforming businesses, and I've been filling all sorts of roles, technical roles, business roles, commercial roles, leadership roles, been community building and all sorts of stuff throughout life. And I think that has been possible because I was privileged and have been growing up in a country, in this case, Denmark. I live in Copenhagen, Denmark. I've been going through free education since childhood, right? I've been offered free access to a really good university. Although I decided to move to the UK to do my engineering degree, I wanted to actually speak English, but I never picked up the accent there, as you can tell, right? Anyway, I brought a lot of other good stuff back from being educated. So I'm speaking with great admiration and support of actually the education system that we have been using for many years. So I'm not here to tell you that education is toast or we shouldn't be educated, but I am here to tell you that I don't think the education systems and the way we have been educating ourselves is what we need in the future. I think we need something radically different to begin thinking and acting in new ways. And I have some thoughts on that, which I want to share. But first, just to give a little bit of flavor of my own background, and although all the companies here are fine organizations and exciting to work with, what I wanted to illustrate with this chart here is more like the different types of engagement you can do if you want to work with an organization. And you're all familiar with this. I'll cut this short. I've had my employments and careers in large corporates and smaller businesses, and I've been a long-term contractor for a very large organization for a long period of time. I've been staff on demand in many organizations in the past 5 years as part of OpenEXO and ExoWorks and my own Sprint Hero organization, mostly focusing on transforming the mindset of the organizations. So the people who are actually the organization, they can prepare themselves to think and act and work differently, find new ways of doing things. And that is something which is really hard to learn in an education system where the whole plan for the year is laid out. You know exactly what you need to learn, except it's probably not what you're going to need once you have selected or been given an assignment or a challenge in a job afterwards. Then you need to learn really what you need to apply to solve your challenge and to do your job. So we've found short sprints, and you can call them bursts or workshops or challenges, like in this case, very, very helpful to quickly acquire new experience, new learning together with others. Never alone, but always with others from your own organization, but even better from across multiple organizations, across multiple cultures, and different networks as well. The more diversity, the better. And I've had such a privilege of working in all sorts of all cultures, pretty much, I think, at least that I've ever heard of, and 15 different industries or so. So what I'm going to say today is based on this kind of background and this kind of roles that I've been feeling personally. I'm also the co-founder of a number of organizations which are all about empowering people, helping people grow and develop and become more autonomous. And if you're a bit of a rebel, then you have my admiration and support in trying new things in new ways. So that was a little bit about that. This one, I think I'm going to almost skip, because I think you all have a really good understanding of the industrial revolutions we've been through. So I'm not going into that. And I think other keynotes have been covering a little bit of this. And also the fourth industrial revolution, which is even just about to begin now at this point in our history. And that is going to change the game for every business, every organization in every industry. That means it changes the game for us who are trying our best to be relevant, be of value to the organizations we want to work with. How do we do that if we don't know the future? And things are changing faster and faster, supported by technologies that we don't necessarily really understand, and business models that are suddenly hitting us much faster and harder and differently than we had expected. But the good news is, looking at the big picture here, is that the growth in employment rates globally has always been going up, with a few historical drops here and there due to war and recessions. But no matter what has happened, we have lost lots of jobs, lots of types of jobs, but we have always been creating more jobs than we lost. And that seems to be continuing. And I have a few numbers in a moment to kind of predict where this is going. So this is the good news. The challenge is we need to prepare ourselves for whole new types of jobs. Again, it's not the first time in history. This is, as I said, this is something we've been through again and again. And we have been evolving, after all, for billions of years as a universe. And later we came into the picture as humans. That was very late on that timeline. Now we have a technological evolution happening, maybe even revolution, and also our technologies and the exponential technologies that we often talk about and discuss and experiment with are riding on the back of Moore's law, right? Which is a small but important part of the whole documentation of how fast can this acceleration really happen, and how unpredictable can the impact of these technologies really be. And the Moore's law is important to study as long as the next kind of generation of technologies, such as quantum computing, which I personally think is going to help this doubling of computational power to continue. I don't think this is going to stop, and I think this is going to continue because we are going to develop whole new technologies. So we are transitioning into a paradigm that we have no idea what is going to look like. Just like it's always been that way, right? That's what Moore has done, and Ray Kurzweil has been documenting very well. So we don't know the future. We know a little bit about the past, and one thing which I'll try to get to show here on my screen is, it's not coming up. There's a photo of a drone that used to carry bombs during World War One. That's a long time ago. So we had autonomous drones in the service of military for many, many years. It's not at all a new technology. What's interesting is to study the progression of these technologies. Today, I'll just talk briefly about one, which is drones. But I could say the same about 20 other technologies that are doubling their performance against their cost constantly. And this little fellow here looks like something you might want to buy for your kids for Christmas. And I'm the kind of dad that does that, right? So I picked this picture up. But what's more interesting here is that this little fellow you see on the picture here is actually able to lift 30 times its own weight. That's the lifting capacity of this little drone. I find that super, super interesting. Thinking about how can we apply this kind of capability and what does that really mean for our world, and how can we leverage this new capability, this technology, and what do we need to do to work with this technology? What do we need to learn, and how can we learn this, and how fast, and this kind of thing. And one application which is in use today is lifting very heavy cargo using drones rather than cranes. Although cranes are still obviously a big thing in our infrastructure and supply chains, but drones are much more agile, flexible, and fast, and very, very inexpensive. And so this is just one part of the whole business case around using drones for lifting heavy cargo. What I find interesting to think about in this particular case is, well, at some point we might not even need container terminals anymore, because drones could pick up a container and bring it onshore, put it on a truck, or even including the last miles, who knows. So if we have a way to handle import taxing and custom clearance, these things, we don't need the container terminals anymore, right? That's another lot of types of jobs that we might never need again. Who knows? We need someone to build these drones, to train the machine learning that's part of the drone, to build new service businesses, logistics businesses that operate in these ways. This is the kind of knowledge we are going to need in the future. And I find that exciting, but we do need to address also the anxiety this brings when this hits our own industry as well, because the same change is happening in all industries. Just the last note on this example of just one exponential technology. In the last part of last year and beginning of this year, I've been running a sprint, a transformation sprint with the Lars agriculture business in Africa. It's very exciting at so many levels. But what I wanted to share here, this is an example I found actually from kind of an educational exercise, but it's exactly the challenge this company was trying to solve, which is farmers are working super hard to produce a certain crop and bring that to market and earn that for their living by doing it. The challenge is there's a lot of middlemen that is essentially taking most of the money from that value chain. So who's benefiting from that? The middlemen are obviously. The farmers are certainly not. They're struggling to survive and to continue to run their farming and even developing new crops. The market, the end user, certainly also not benefiting in any way. What if technologies could solve this problem and support the farmers? Right? What if you have access to drone lifting capacity, machine learning, 5G, and GPS? What could you do with those technologies if you know what to do with it, right? We'll get to that learning part again during the coming minutes here. How could you create aerial transportation services that would help put the farmers in power, in control, and have platforms that find the right market, the right customers at the end of the value chain, and deliver the produce, the crops to the right customers, and optimize for delivery, crop quality, price, all these things in favor of the farmers and the end user. Right? We can totally change the whole agriculture game and the food chains if we know what to do with these technologies, and if we know what to do with new business models. So this is again back to, we need to learn new skills to actually solve some of these big challenges in new ways. This was just one example from my own life. You are all, I'm sure, very familiar with the 6Ds. I'll just quickly walk you through it. But I think it's probably been presented in another keynote. But the thing that happens with Moore's law here is when you digitize a domain, and this we see pretty much all industries are busy doing that, but thinking that's the end goal. Once we have digitized, we're fine, right? That's what we need to do. But that's not the case. The digitization is just the beginning of a long tail of events that are very unpredictable. But this is what people don't get at this point. And so that's my experience. So you need to get this, and you need to be able to turn the following into an opportunity rather than being disrupted by it. So once you digitize a domain, now you start to double your performance, your price performance, just like we discussed with Moore's law. That means that you can solve problems in new ways with technologies that you couldn't do yesterday, right? It gives us whole new opportunities. Now, we will go through a phase of disappointment. We are not really seeing the impact we were hoping for and all those things. But once the domain is digitized, we do have a deceptive doubling pattern. So we're not really seeing how powerful things are getting just yet, until the point you see here on the chart that says you're here. This is where the doubling starts to really kick in and become disruptive. Now you find solutions to be working and delivering the impact that you're hoping for, and you can start to scale the delivery of your value in whole new ways at a pace that nobody would have believed, right? What happens now with the digitalization is a dematerialization, right? That's all the different devices we used to have for entertainment, and the camera, the transistor radio, the phone, all these things are now nicely consolidated into one little device, which is getting smaller and probably going to implement it somehow in our body sometime soon. Maybe the next announcement from one of the tech giants, who knows, we'll be carrying this inside us. But so the dematerialization is real, and it holds a lot of opportunity for what we are creating in education, because we can now reach any student on the planet as long as the student as well is connected to the internet. We have a couple of billion more fellow citizens of the world joining the internet in the coming years. That is such a huge opportunity for us. Consider also the demonetization that follows the dematerialization. As a matter of fact, we will have zero marginal cost of adding one more student if we have created online services that cater for personalized learning and all these things and make things available online. The demonetization is powerful. It's also challenging when you develop a business model because you don't have the physical product to sell them, or you don't have a classroom or professors sitting there and delivering a great value. But this is really not what we are going to need in the future. We need a different way of delivering education as well. Democratization is the amazing aspect where now people are connected online at pretty much zero cost. Now everybody can collaborate and cross-pollinate ideas, create their own curriculum, their own training, their own learning, their own education. Anybody can do it. Anybody can now be the professor. And now we are fully empowered to learn together and from each other. This is a challenge for the education system, but not for us. This is an opportunity that we need to embrace. So that's just a very short version of how the world is changing. Now, I promised you a few data points, and I've been going through a lot of predictions and reports and research. In the next 5 years, it seems, in general, we can expect to lose 85 million jobs. And that's also a lot of job categories that we will probably never need again. That's the bad news. The good news, which I shared already, is another 97 million new jobs will emerge. But they're going to be very different types of jobs requiring new skills and new ways of working. So we need to be adaptable and ready to jump at that challenge and learn faster and learn new skills. I just wanted to highlight that by 2030, most predictions indicate that education is going to be a $10 trillion industry. So commercially, this can be a massive opportunity for what you guys will be doing in this challenge if you want to bring this to market. And there's going to be plenty for everybody, right? Education is going to continue to exist, deliver a lot of value to a lot of people. But in parallel, my personal approach and recommendation is work more on the edge. That is where you disconnect yourself from everything that we don't really need from the education system anymore. Just wipe that paradigm out of your brain for now, park it somewhere else, and look at what problem are you solving here for the people that you want reskills, or you want to be acquiring a new mindset, or whatever it is you want them to benefit from. So think about what you're going to do in this challenge, not in the context of education, but in the context of what is our life going to be like, and fill a role in that paradigm instead. And then when you're doing that, you might be serving the market in the traditional education industry as well. And as you can see here, there's lots of revenue potentially available there for your initiatives. Now, there are 5 general scenarios here for the future of education. The future may be a combination of some of these, I'm sure. But if we keep it clean, we have education as usual. And let's not be fooled by, I'm talking about education is not relevant. We expect to see in the next decade 800 million more K-12 graduates. That's an incredible growth of the education sector, right? Who's going to educate all these amazing people? and also 350 million post-secondary graduates on top of that. And we will have a gap of about 100 million teachers worldwide. That's a massive challenge and a massive opportunity. So it's just to leave you with those numbers when we talk about education as usual. Lots of people talking about once the COVID-19 pandemic has slowed down and we can get out again, we will go back to education as usual. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think you guys in this challenge will crack this and be ready for the market so we can jump to the next wave, the next paradigm, which is what we need to create now. This is also the opportunity I really started working on pretty much full time a couple of years ago. And I find that really exciting as a challenge. We see another scenario as well. We will likely be having a regional rising in the education space where regions are designing the traditional education systems to benefit from the power of volume. They have more students, they have more transactions, they can reduce cost of education through new technologies, and they can cater to the local demographics, aging populations, and these changes that are happening. So regional rising is another powerful scenario that you need to consider and look into. Then we have the peer-to-peer future of education. That is probably what excites me the most personally. That everybody we meet knows something that we don't know, right? And some are actually, pardon my French, bloody good at what they do. I would like to learn from them. And I'm sure you feel the same way. And that's, by the way, why we are part of this community and why we are together here, because we want to play together. And I think peer-to-peer learning is such a huge opportunity. And I see this as being a strong trend. We have the tech giants that are massively moving into this space as well, with certifications, online courses, what have you. And they do it obviously for good commercial reasons, but also because they cannot find the skills out in the job market that they need. They have literally to educate their own workforce. That's what Amazon is doing, Facebook, Google, they're all doing it. They really have to. They have to do it. I have personally some concerns also about do I need to be linked to my Facebook account or Google account to continue my own learning? And what is it the giants know about me? But I also really couldn't exist without the tech giants. So there's a difficult balance there, right? And they are certainly playing a role in the future of education. And then the robo revolution. This is where everything is automated and you have an AI that is guiding you through everything you need to learn. And it's always a few steps ahead of you. So it knows exactly who to connect to, what you need to learn, and serve it to you at just the right moment. That sounds like heaven, but I don't know what it's going to be like. It's probably also, most objections are about, I want the human connection. But does one thing rule out the other? I don't know. That's probably up to you if you want to create a robo revolution as part of this challenge. So that was a little bit about some scenarios that I think we're looking into. And it's probably, the future is probably going to be a combination of many of these scenarios, I would believe. So now that we're looking into the future, the next paradigm of education, what's coming next? What do we want to come next? What do we want to replace or support the education system? What do we need to design for? So I've been going through my notes and my what I've seen to be important and impactful. And one thing that we can not talk about is purpose-driven organizations and delivering positive impact. That's really what we want in our community. Is very important, I think, that the rest of the world gets to appreciate what this means and understand it. People need to find their purpose and start to grow a belief that they too can have a positive impact on the world. This changes our mindset tremendously in a good direction. It helps us to know how we can better contribute. When we know that, we can start to seek the right knowledge for ourselves, understand what it is we need to learn, and then we create a demand for this, and we'll find out who to learn from. Right. So you are very familiar with the MTP and these things, and in Francisco and Scali's pre-study material, you will find a lot about this. So I'm not going into that. I think it's worthwhile spending some time here. I'll keep it short in the interest of time. But I want you to consider looking up the OECD project called The Future of Education Skills 2030. It was released in March 2018. Essentially, I can tell you what's in there. I've tried to condense it. You will find a good description of the foundational literacy that are going to be very much needed in the 21st century. Also the competencies and the character qualities. Now, is this the answer to everything? Probably not. Is it the full answer? Probably not. But I think it's worthwhile looking at least some of this, the foundational literacies, being like, it doesn't surprise you. We need some basic literacy, numeracy, scientific literacy, financial literacy, ICT literacy, these things, and cultural and civic literacy. This is super important for us as human beings to acquire new learning. But then the competencies, when we have machines, robots, AI to support us in what we are doing. This is not a machine or humans, in my opinion. It's both. We need to work together very closely on a daily basis, regardless of what job function or role we are playing individually. We as humans need to focus on the critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, communication, and collaboration. I have a version where I have added coaching as well. I will do that in this presentation too. Coaching is very important when we don't know the answers. We cannot come in and say, hey, this is what you should be doing. We should be asking you questions to help you think differently about what you're trying to do, right? So coaching and being coachable is a very important competency, in my opinion, as well. Character qualities include curiosity, initiative, persistence, grit, adaptability, leadership, social and cultural awareness. So just to leave you with that, and then the rest of the screen here, I will not go into it because time is flying. And the exponential organizations, you know about that, and also from the pre-study material. And read the book Exponential Organization if you haven't already. But also consider the characteristics of what follows education. I think it's very clear that learning and training and teaching and all this has to be just in time. Things will, and we all know that when we need to solve a problem, we need to learn things right now, right? Find a book, find a YouTube video, call Scally, whatever is the right thing to do in that moment. Figure out how to get this done. Just in time is an important principle and characteristic. So is anywhere, anytime, personalized learning, lifelong learning. It's going to be non-linear. You cannot have a linear curve that shows exactly when and where you need to learn things. This is non-linear. You need to prepare your ideas for that. I focus a lot on real world accomplishments. And personally, I'm not that interested in certificates and diplomas and academic, whatever you get there, apart from the knowledge and all that. But real world accomplishments is a more important metric of the future, in my opinion. Are we accomplishing what we are trying to accomplish? That's what we need to be measuring now and in the future. And we need to be tech assisted, right? We need intentionally to be seeking to learn about technology and how we can work closely with technology to accomplish what we want. We need to look at things holistically, and we need to focus on empowerment. Empower each other, because none of us have the answers. So we need to rather empower each other to go and do what seems to be the right thing to be doing. All right. I'm about to be ready to open up for questions and discussion in the last minutes here. I'll leave you in a moment with the link to this presentation. Then you can go and watch some videos and stuff I've put in there. But just to say that personally, I find it extremely fulfilling to be creating these kind of initiatives for the future of education. And I've been doing this for a couple of years, and I'm sure many of you have as well. And in Educate4Life, we are running these sprints as well. And the Planet Pilot is one of those initiatives that came out earlier this year to empower kids, to create 1,000 ways to empower kids. And we have another presentation on Friday, so please come back for that on Friday to learn more about that. With that, this is a wrap, and I'd like to take questions in the last minutes here, have a short discussion.
Great, thank you so much for that, Lars. That was a very, very interesting and very inspiring presentation, and you gave us a lot of resources that we should all look up and analyze for this future of education. So thank you so much for that. Yes, has anyone got any questions or comments? I'm sure you do. And Lars has just left the link in the chat to this presentation.
Hello, Calvin. This is Kazim speaking. Hi. Well, I would like to start thanking my dear friend Lars. He has done it again. He turned it all inside out, upside down. Everyone has countless questions. What's going to be, what it should be. And that's what he's doing. Very good at that. He's very good. First of all, I have to say that.
Thank you, Kazim. Thank you.
It's an exciting speech. It was a pleasure listening to you, because I know where you're coming from. It's going to be really something, an important part of the whole organization right now. Your message is a quite strong message. And I hope I can also support this with a few sentences. From our discussions in the Planet Pilot, I also like to things from the end and backwards, which means I would like to go to the point where you said, is there going to be education? We exactly don't know what's going to be, what's going to look like, because we don't know the outcome yet. We don't know the outcome, so we don't know how to educate the people. Okay, so this is the future 2030. And you said 97 million new jobs, okay? So what kind of skills, competencies, and literacy, and everything, we have to find that out first so that we can organize the whole system. Maybe we're not going to call it education anymore, because education is already, as you say, 100+ years old, and it is, it is out of system anyways. So I'm ready to not to call this education, but another name anyways. It's going to be something different. And I wouldn't bother me, we're ready to do that. And that's all the whole challenge is about. And I think with all the teams from the Planet Pilot and Educatefor.Life, we're going to go for that and probably come up with brilliant ideas. And people can hear about, yes, there will be no education. It will be something else, okay? And we don't want to call this education because we're fed up with this education system. What brought us today, it doesn't work, all right? It doesn't prepare the next generations to the future, because this system doesn't know anything about the future. So we will have to do that. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Kazim. I couldn't hear you very well. I don't know if it's my internet, but I think I grasped that the system doesn't know what the future is going to be like. So we need to help them understand and be ready to adapt to whatever comes along. So thank you for that, Kazim. Great. Has anyone got any other comments or questions for Lars?
There's one from.
Oh, yes.
Let me see here.
Arda, how we as individuals and teams influence the paradigm shift.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the exciting things about the times we live in is anybody can turn things around, as a matter of fact. A few clicks and we have very powerful AI at our fingertips, if that's what we want to try out. Just as importantly, maybe even more importantly, is we have each other. We are part of a community that share the same passion and understanding of the urgency of what we are talking about here. So we are all open to hear even the most crazy, insane ideas. Get them out there, share your ideas. This is probably the most important suggestion I think I want to bring to the table, is don't be afraid of sharing ideas. They only get better by being shared. And any idea can turn out to be what changes the world one day. So that's the impact you can have also as an individual. Thank you for that.
Very true. Thank you. Thank you, Lars. Yeah, we need to have a shift in mindset and just be ready to share the ideas we have.
Hi. I am Dulce from Spain and want to ask you about, it's very interesting, how technology, if we only watch the future of the point of view of the technology, should we forget the part of the take care of the earth, our ancestral part? Because, for example, be contact with the nature or the planet, the water, take care of the water. Now we can drink water of the rivers, for example. That is a very big problem, because, for example, I'm from Spain, and if you go on the top of the mountain, you can drink the water. That's how technology, how we are going to connect this part. Because I listened your discuss, all the time is of the point of the technology, of the point of the drones, of the point of the genetical at the end, or the employments of the future. That's okay. But what happens with this part? We can show our children only with the technology. Because, for example, I make videos in YouTube explaining and talking about in the forest. A lot of people contact me about, oh, how beautiful forest, how beautiful nature. And I ask, why don't you came for your nest or your closest forest? This part we can forget. And I think right. It's in your opinion, of how do you think we are going to connect this part? The ancestral part, taking care, don't be the prehistoric, but because, for example, the fire. For me, I'm very bored with the fire, because we can make fire, and the fire is very important, because our home, for example, in Spain, fuego is from the word fogar, is the same, hogar is the same of home, and we forget this. If you make a fire, you are making a home. Yes. We are making a circle with the people, no? For example, I'm a storyteller, and when we start to storytelling, we make a circle, because it's very important. Everybody feel is the same in the circle, and I think with the technology we are forgetting this part.
Yes.
We need it. What is your opinion?
I see the same thing. We have a very powerful urbanization trend, right? People have been moving to bigger cities, living smart lives with technologies, with gadgets, and getting away from the nature. But just like you're saying, we rely on our habitat. We cannot survive without our nature, without air to breathe, water to drink. We simply cannot. So there is a lot of urgency around this agenda. Now, this is way more than technology. This is about our awareness and our priorities as a species. And that is important. And this is why we spend a lot of time talking about having a positive impact on the world. That is a higher priority than talking about the specific technologies. Having said that, technologies may be part of the problem, but they can always be and probably have to be part of smarter solutions. So first of all, to prevent us from damaging our planet more than we have done. It's hard to reverse, but we can mitigate some of the damages if we start to take action. And technologies can help us to reduce CO2 emission and in general improve our carbon footprint. But it can also help us to repair some of the damages, right? We can actually filter water, we can clean air and take actions like that thanks to technologies. This is getting better and better as technology advances, but it's a mindset thing. It's also a political priority, but we as voters, I am not addressing the presidential election anymore today. I'm crossing my fingers, but we as consumers and voters are becoming more powerful. We can vote with our money and with our decisions. And fortunately, there's a strong trend showing that's what's happening. People are asking for sustainable products rather than products that will damage our nature. So there's a strong trend there. So with this message that you're promoting here, Dulce, then I think there will be a good market for this, fortunately. So that's the good news in a pretty terrible situation that we are in as a species on this planet.
Great, thank you. Yes, Dulce, very important topic, and I think Lars nailed it when he said that that it's up to us as individuals, and so it's up to us as also brothers and sisters and parents to teach our surroundings how important it is to keep that positive impact mindset, to make sure that we do look after our planet. So I think we'll wrap it up. We've gone a little bit past the time, and I'm sure Lars has lots of things to do. So thank you so much, Lars, once again for being here today. And thank you so much to everyone for joining and being so proactive. And thank you to anyone who is watching afterwards in the recording. So yeah, let's join Lars on Friday as well with Crystal and the rest of the team for Planet Pilot. Thank you again, Lars.
Good luck, everybody, with the challenge.
Thank you. Bye.